Hey, folks, welcome to the Agency Side Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Levinson. Today, I'm joined with Will Trowbridge, the CEO and founder of Saylor, an LA based creative marketing agency he launched in 2021. Saylor's been known for its entertainment led, social first approach, crafting award winning campaigns for clients like Disney, Netflix, Prime Video, Paramount Plus, Hulu, and Tubi. Before starting Saylor, Will spent time at Disney and later at Netflix, where he helped build the streamer's comedy brand, Netflix is a Joke. Drawing on those experiences, he set out to build the agency he wished existed when he was on the client side, and it's clearly paid off. Under his leadership, Saylor's grown from 2 people to more than 80 employees in 4 years, earning recognition from Adweek's #1 fastest growing agency on the West Coast and Adage's 2025 Small Agency of the Year. Will, it is so great to have you on the pod today.
Dude, that was an amazing intro. You stole all my lines. I don't know what else to say. Those are all literally my little lines.
There's
God,
nothing left to say on the podcast.
there's nothing else.
We've covered it all.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy to be here, Justin. Thanks for having me on and nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been following Saylor for some time, and there's definitely been a lot of buzz in the agency space. So I'm excited to speak with you. And the first thing I always like to ask guests is, and I know this can kind of be long-winded, but how did you get into the agency space?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched upon this when in your intro, but my first time working at an agency was founding one. So I had a very unique kind of story compared to a lot of my colleagues on the founder side of agencies who worked at agencies for decades or sometimes longer, where just they've figured it all out and then they think they can do it better. So they hop from the shop and start their own. In my case, I didn't know anything about the inner workings of an agency, but I did know, of course, what I liked about working with agencies and production companies. And of course, as you mentioned, I was on the brand side of things prior to starting Saylor at places like Disney and Netflix, and had worked with, 50 or so agencies over the course of my 10 years of working on the brand side. Jumped into agency land knowing that I needed a partner, someone who brought the energy, who cared as much as me. I knew all of, and of course had an incredible creative work product and work ethic. Those are like things that as a client, I always looked for in a creative agency partner. And so I ultimately jumped into agency land being like, I can do those things. I know that all of my friends back at Netflix really value the same things as me. I've seen who's out there. I know the types of shops they're hiring. I feel like I can do those things, but I of course didn't know all of the back of house operational know-how required to even make those 5 whatever core principles of an agency possible. So yeah, the early days of Saylor was me jumping into this very new territory and figuring that stuff out on the fly.
Mm.
I knew I could rely on my network, and I knew I could rely on my, gross extroverted personality, and I knew I could make great work, but I didn't know the kind of inner workings of what an agency really was. And I was been what has kind of kept me inspired and curious ever since, really figuring that out.
Yeah. So you mentioned a partner. How did you find this individual?
I actually did not start with a partner. I was just said I wanted to be a partner.
Oh, you
I
wanted to
needed
be
a
a partner.
partner.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
understand.
that when
Yeah.
I think of partners, partnership, it's a meme on the agency side of things. I'm looking for a partner, not an agency. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's real. When you're on the client side and you feel like your agency partner is not actually showing up the way
Yeah.
you expect, or maybe doesn't care about the work as much as you do, you start thinking you can do it better. And so you fire your agency and you start doing it yourself. You
Yeah.
find the time because guess what? You have so much more context than an agency partner will ever have because you were there in the room when that project was decided on, when that idea was sparked, when that strategy was built. So if an agency isn't showing up as a true partner and like showing up at an equal level of excitement and energy and just caring as much as
Yeah.
you do, you can sense it, and it's not as valuable.
What was like the first, I guess wasn't a partner, but what was the first sort of hire that you made when you were on your
Yeah.
own?
Yeah. So I was solo for the first like 8 months or something, smoke and mirroring my way through lots of pitches. I took on a lot of kind of the creative and strategy work myself in the early days of Saylor. It was during 2021, end of pandemic. looked a lot like this. I could be in my living room and I could look like the biggest agency in the world. It was like you could fundamentally lie your way into rooms and sell big ideas and then go call all your freelance friends who were out of work at that time anyway, and build teams really quickly. So that's what I was doing over the first 8 months until we landed our first retainer business with it was actually with Last Prisoner Project, which is a nonprofit that works to get folks incarcerated for marijuana offenses out of
Mm,
prison. That was our first. It was like this little project, one-off project that then turned into an ongoing retainer through a dear friend who trusted us in the early days. Shout out to Sarah Gersten. And then fast forward a few months, we got called on by another former Netflix exec who went and ran creative at the likes of Postmates. And we jumped on and started as their social AOR. And then soon, a month later, won the Prime comedy business at Prime Video. So taking a
great.
lot of my Netflix as a joke knowledge and packaging that up for Prime Video in a way that obviously was unique to their brand and their positioning, but ultimately was there to super serve the comedy audience on social. So those three things allow me to, of course, justify the first hire, if not the first five, which allowed us to really grow into a formal agency and get it out of like kind of hire will pay sailor land, which
Yeah.
is where we were for the first half of the year.
That's cool. It's great that you had sort of like you were able to sort of creative resource everything in the beginning because you sort of had a network of people that were
Hmm.
already out of work that you were able to use to service the client's needs. And then once the work started coming in, you were able to scale and bring more people in. Uh,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
really great. That's really exciting. I guess before some of that work started coming in, how were you feeling just like in terms of like jumping
Hmm.
straight from like being at a studio? I mean, obviously there's a lot of unknowns, but like,
Yeah.
what was sort of going on in your mind when you made that jump?
Yeah. I yeah, I mean the jump was, just for context, like I didn't leave Netflix by my own volition. I essentially told them at the time that I had worked my face off over the course of the pandemic. I mean, you're doing like 13-hour days sometimes, and you're just like, there's no beginning and end to anything. You get a G chat in the middle of the night and you're expected to respond to it. Just a unique time. I'm sure that wasn't unique to Netflix, but it was just like the edges of work and life were completely blurred during that time. Right. And I just had worked so hard for this company and they opened up the role I'd been working towards. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going for that thing. And then I learned that they were looking elsewhere to fill it. And I just told them, like, you gotta give me that job or let me go. And they showed me the door. And so I, entered the job market kind of with my severance, the iconic Netflix severance. And I quickly came to the realization that I had learned something about myself through the Netflix experience I didn't know I had, which is I had this entrepreneurial spirit. They essentially gave you a budget and threw you in the deep end and told you to make a bunch of value for the company. So I left Netflix being like, what else will allow me to do that? And I was like, I don't think it's at NBC Universal. I know it's not at Disney. I was there before. Where else am I going to go? Right? And quickly came to the conclusion that I got to build something of my own to feel the level of like validation, and value back from my employer that felt like I was giving to it. I felt like I needed to build something of my own. So I didn't ever have to question that again. Um, and it was gnarly to make the jump, but quickly as those wins start happening, oh my God, the satisfaction is insane. Like
Yeah.
it's all riding on you, which is an immense amount of pressure, but it's incredible feeling when things start lining up and when you start knocking down these opportunities and get more from it. Oh my God, the feeling of like chaining work together. Oh my God, it's like addicting.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of founders find a way to get through those dark days because they're always optimistic, looking for the next bone to chase.
Yeah. How has your role changed from the
Yeah.
beginning, from those early days to now with a larger team? Thanks for tuning in, folks. This episode is brought to you by Coming Up Creative, a relationship first boutique creative recruitment agency. We disrupt the creative ecosystem by running sophisticated, multi channel campaigns with custom video and voice outreach that actually gets responses. We actively market the agencies and brands we represent to help them stand out to today's industry's top talent, all backed by real human connection and AI powered targeting. If you're ready for a modern recruitment approach, visit www.comingupllc.com and get started today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my level of care, like the amount of I care about this business has not wavered. I am like still so much. I mean, I don't think it worked when I left Netflix and was hoping for more work-life balance. There's absolutely zero. It is like
Yeah.
one steady stream of work and life. I actually think people ask me that a lot where they're like, how do you find the time to do all this? And I said, there's no such thing as work or life. It's just life. And it makes sense if you treat it in that way. So you don't feel like you're giving something up for the other, and I do think that like I care deeply and I more than ever about this business and the people who work here. I mean, the fact is we do have so many people who work here. I mean, there's so many people who are helping Saylor and me achieve our goals every day that my job has fundamentally shifted from doing all the things and hiring freelancers to execute them to now supporting people who are even going out and winning the things and then engaging internal teams and polishing internal operations and booking, locations and signing leases and all the crazy stuff that comes with a business. So
Yeah.
my job is definitely more fractional in so many different ways. Like I try to hit everything still. And I'm still really focused on the creative side of things at Saylor. I work with Nicole Stetter, our head of creative, on that every day. And then I'm really kind of obviously on the new business front and help everyone else the best I can. I've definitely hired a lot of smart people who are much better than me at other things, and I defer to them whenever possible.
Yeah. There's a whole other art to scaling a team and doing all that
Mhm.
stuff. It seems like you've done a really fantastic job. What's your favorite part to do? Is it the strategy or the creative, or do you like the BD, or what's your favorite?
Yeah. I actually think that the back to your first question, I love this sort of like building of this business. I think it's because it's the thing that's new inherently. Like I liked doing a lot of the strategy and creative when I was at Netflix. I would find production companies, et cetera, who could bring my ideas to life. I didn't always rely on agencies to do that strategy work, et cetera. So I like doing that stuff and I used to doing it, but the kind of new thing for me here is like how does it all work together and how do I help kind of like find ways to connecting kind of people or just operations here to help us achieve what we want to achieve. So the building of the business is something I really love. And, I think that all starts with great creative. That's what they're buying when they buy Sailor. And so I'm incredibly invested in that and I really love it. But I think that it's like I see it as one part of the larger whole that really brings me joy.
Yeah. I love that. I'm interested in if you have a favorite campaign that you've
Yeah.
done, or any favorites you could
Yeah,
share
I
with us.
mean, not so much campaign. We have a client that is just really incredibly the way they work is amazing. The folks at Tubi, we manage their social every day. I mean, for anyone who's just aware of Tubi, they know that they're like the work they put out into the world, both on the brand side of things and even the content side of things is just fun. And the people behind the scenes at Tubi are incredibly fun people to work with. Not to say our other clients aren't, but it's just Tubi is like they have a well-oiled machine. They seem incredibly aligned strategically behind their internal goals and their leadership. And as an agency partner, that just gives us absolute confidence in what we do every day. And we can really execute that at the highest level and the highest level of weird. Like the stuff that we put out into the world, it just like is incredibly off kilter and bizarre and something truly ownable for Tubi. And it's been really fun to watch the team here just kind of grow within Tubi. We've grown year over year with them. And of course, just the excitement grows. It seems like daily here as we're continue to explore all that's possible within that world.
So super cool. It's got to be great when the client when you're really seeing eye to eye and able to level up the creative like that.
Yeah, it's just like in lockstep. There's like not a lot of question marks, you know? And it's like that's the perfect type of client for an agency to be successful.
Totally.
Yeah.
What kind of you guys have won some awards too, right? I noticed you guys won a Shorty award. You can tell us a
Hell
little bit about
yeah.
that.
We love Shorty. God, I actually don't remember what we won a Shorty for. Wait, I think this is
I
it.
thought you guys did. Maybe I'm
We
not
won
doing my.
some yeah, we won
Maybe I
one
haven't done my
we won
homework.
one we won one for DreamWorks Bad Guys Holiday.
Nice.
The Bad Guys Very Bad Holiday. Ages I think that was like 2 years ago. But
Okay.
yeah, we've won some interesting awards. We just got nominated for a bunch of Clios.
Love it.
We got, of course, some more agency-wide recognition from the likes of Ad Age and Ad Week, and yeah, just I'm like so proud of the team, and everyone here I think feels it when we win those things. I know it's kind of funny with in the ad world. It's like the game we all play that gives us our little pat on the back, but I think it is really meaningful
Yeah.
to, of course, the team behind it, and gives us some level of like resolution at the end of the rainbow. It's like, holy crap, we actually like that project is officially finished. Proof is that we have this award in hand. So I'm incredibly proud of the team and excited to continue chasing the award game. It's a fun
Yeah.
thing that agencies can do. It's that
Yeah.
that the brand side of things, they care about it, but not as much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great thing. I also noticed you
Yeah.
guys were getting into AV a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually brought on this two incredible creative directors in the editorial space, Anais Bimpole and Michael Meehan. These are two folks who have cut their teeth cutting trailers literally for the past decade or two and are some of the most prolific editorial minds out there. Funny enough, I think that there's like on the entertainment marketing side of things, one, we have like an incredible editorial team outside of those two folks that are, clipping and churning and cutting stuff every single day. But, just more so, I'm noticing we're in this sort of cycle on the entertainment marketing side of things where social campaigns look a lot like they did probably 7 years ago, where it's like heavy AV, then you have social creators, and then you have like social strategy, community management, what we call like engagement strategy as an undercurrent. But that's the prioritization where like when we got into business in the first place, it was flipped, where social strategy was winning, social creators then came second, and then AV last. It was like a different time, and so we've of course invested in our AV side of things to continue delivering at an incredible level for our entertainment partners. And it's been really fun even deploying that talent on non-entertainment brands. So we just had Anais and Michael, for example, oversee two of our latest campaigns for Hilton. And they have just done an
Cool.
incredible job bringing that kind of like editorial
Yeah.
taste and touch to a brand that isn't used or isn't used to deploying entertainment marketing strategies like that.
Hmm.
And so I
That's
think it's been a
interesting.
really interesting way to evolve
Yeah.
a campaign like that.
That is really cool. That's fascinating. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have interest in ever getting into key art or anything like that as well? Or
I don't think so. I think that like the reality is like our roots are in entertainment, but we do not think of ourselves as an entertainment marketing agency. Like we're not, I think the folks that have like built their roots in trailers and key art and then have found their way to social after, which is a pretty common story in the entertainment marketing side of things, like we're different from them in that like social is of course, platform. It's a type of behavior. It's an audience. It's all these things that are kind of like deliverable agnostic. It's not about just making one type of art over and over and getting better and better at it. It's about shape shifting your campaigns and your creative to, of course, the brand's goals, but also to the evolving social behaviors of these people. And I think that's our root, and that's where our roots are. And of course, like entertainment is key to winning on social, but it's really, as we see it, like entertaining strategies is more important than just working with entertainment brands. Entertaining strategies can get you to be a valuable partner to the likes of Hilton, whereas Hilton probably doesn't need a trailer. It's like,
yeah.
so we're evolving as a company. We believe every brand is an entertainment brand at the end of the day, and we as a agencies should employ entertaining strategies wherever we can to help brands be successful. But that doesn't mean just making one thing.
Yep, I totally get that. Another thing I'm always interested in is technology.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to understand what, what's in like the Sailor tech stack. What kind of tools are working for you?
Well, Asana went down this morning, so everyone's talking about that. Damn it, another day without Asana. No, I literally just saw that. I was just like, hey, can we build a new Asana? Like, can we control our destiny a little bit here? No, I mean, when Amazon Web Services went down, holy crap, like Frame.io is plummeting, like everything that we use is like, oh, we're just done for the day. Google's hanging on with by a thread. So anyway, yeah, on the tech side of things, Saylor actually launched sister production company, a creative studio called Elevado earlier this year in May. And we did that really with the intention of building a modern creative studio from the ground up with AI integrated from the ground up at its core. It doesn't mean that we're only making AI things, but it means that we're building a creative studio knowing that AI is an incredible tool for us as creative thinkers and creative executors and producers and directors, et cetera, that can't be and shouldn't be ignored today. So we've built it in, like I said, up to our operations and of course our creative making and creative ideating really throughout Elevado, and are using that kind of studio as a sort of lab of sorts to churn out learnings for Saylor to take on. So
Hmm,
Saylor is like, okay, tell us how you did all that. Let's now bring that to market and showcase an idea we now know is possible given Elevado's success in it. And so we can pitch differently. It affects everything from, of course, the ideation, but all the way back to the strategy. Knowing what's possible is changing from a execution perspective has really evolved our abilities more grandly on the agency side.
fascinating.
Yeah.
How do you
I
how
mean,
do you
it's definitely an interesting conversation. I mean, what we're trying to do is offer I mean, one, we're like being I don't know if you're feeling this or have talked to other people, but the level of pressure that our clients are putting on their internal staff to just embrace AI and to
yeah,
use it in their everyday work. They're not telling us to do that, but there is an underlying expectation that you're doing the same. So not only is it we're finding a lot of creative success there, but it's also kind of a need state to stay competitive.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear from agency owners all the time, be like, "Hey, Justin, what's like the hot thing going on right now? Who can I talk to? How do I
Yeah.
build? I'm looking to start an agency. How do I build it from the ground up using AI?" That's something I get from
Mm.
people all the time. And
Yeah.
who can help me build an
Right.
agency from the ground up with AI? I get that asked
Interesting.
weekly.
So what? Like there's a person who wants to start an agency and they want to build it from the ground up using AI, meaning like they want to, of course, not have to build a giant team and then tear that thing down once some tool pops up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are creative agencies now that are like especially like in graphics are really employing a lot of AI, and even some are like cutting down their graphics teams to more like
Yeah.
freelance kind of,
Yeah.
and because the AI is kind of, dominating. So they're trying to find out who's doing what and what kind of tools are
Yeah.
being used and trying to see if
Totally.
they can sort of replicate that from the beginning opposed to like,
Yeah.
unpacking it later.
Yeah, you definitely don't wanna be building using a decades old playbook right now. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many interesting ways of doing things that weren't even possible 6 months, a year ago. So, that's probably smart. I think
Yeah.
that if I was to do it all again in 2025, I inevitably would have thought about, some of the early foundational decisions differently, knowing that agentic AI is a thing now, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what the
It's
hell?
crazy. It's
Yeah.
like it's radically changed the recruiting business, which,
Oh, I bet.
we do a lot in.
Yeah.
It's just it's wild how much of it now is automated and how much with multi-channel campaigns and, scraping like data through Clay and being able to reach like so many people with such personalized on point messaging. It's
Right.
really getting insane.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in on the hiring side of the coin too, for selfish
Yeah. I mean,
reasons.
that
But
must be great though. Like, especially for a small shop or consultant or a recruiter, single recruiter, like to be able to deploy at that scale has got to be just such a relief and you get time back. I don't think
yeah,
the value changes. The
yeah,
value is you're being paid to source the best person for the job. Doesn't matter how
totally.
you get there.
Yep. I think that sort of like sea of sameness kind of happens a lot with
Mm,
recruitment too, though, because it's like when you deploy all that stuff in masses, people are all using the same like keywords and variables. And so it becomes noise in a lot of ways for us. For me, it's like being creative with like the copy. Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
can I
yeah.
reach somebody that sounds authentically like me?
Right.
That's not going to be the like, hey, Will, your experience at this variable seems pretty good.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Fill in the blanks.
we've all
Yeah,
seen that.
totally.
We've all
Yeah.
seen that message. So it's like, how can, on our end and I think hiring, it's still, it's not like, it is an element of creativity because you have
Yes,
to
for
now,
sure.
people, top level people on LinkedIn are getting hit up, you know, like
All
dozens
the
of
time.
times in a
Yeah,
week. And so
totally.
if you don't have a message that's going to pop, just like
Mhm.
if you don't have a social
Yeah.
piece that doesn't pop, it's the
Yep.
same kind of thing.
Yep.
And I'm sure with that, there's probably an element of outbound for you as well, too, reaching out to agencies. I hear from people on the studio side that they get hit up like dozens of times a week. Like, is there a way that you sort of
You mean
strategically reach?
from agencies? Yeah.
Yeah, like when you're reaching out
Yeah.
to potential clients, is there any
Yeah.
strategy there?
To not cold call people. That is like my core strategy. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I don't know, man. I think that it's an interesting time for our industry. Maybe I'll start cold calling some folks, just
Yeah,
to like really diversify ourselves. If
yeah,
everyone else is employing that strategy, maybe we should too. We've been rolling from, on the referral side of things since the beginning of Saylor. We've been winning through trusted connections, and even I don't even know how they find our website, but like incredible brands hit us up through our hello@sayloragency.com email. I'm like, holy crap, how did you find
that's
us?
so cool.
It's like the like brands that any agency would want to work with. I'm just like, oh my God, something's working here. So I
Yeah.
think shout out to our comms team and shout out to our, internal social team who's pumping out Saylor content every day, because that seems to be clicking. But I do think that, like, we're, like I said, we're diversifying. We're not just entertainment. We're trying to kind of use each win in the kind of non-entertainment space as a springboard to the next. And that takes a lot of packaging, it takes a lot of communication to kind of make, spirit company understand the value of a hospitality campaign. It's like there's so many niches out there, and there's so many agencies that fill them, that if you're trying to be bigger than any one industry, or cross industry from an expertise perspective, you got to tell that story. And so I think we have a lot of work ahead of us in doing that. I'm excited to do it, and I think that the value proposition for Saylor is clear. It's just now about getting into those doors, and in those rooms, and getting the chance to show everyone our wares.
Yeah.
Open up
Well,
the watch jacket and show everyone all the watches.
Well, I think the beauty of what you're doing is that you're creating excellent work, which is
Right.
leading to excellent work. And so
Totally.
you don't have to deploy some of those desperate strategies of cold calling. I was just featured on a podcast as a top biller, featured as a 7-figure biller who has never made a cold call. So I am on your team. I've actually
Hey.
I've never made a cold call in my life. I have a couple of friends that have told me that the one thing that is interesting about the cold call is 99.9% of the time, you're not going to get a person on the other end.
Right.
They're not going to answer
Right.
because they're going to see whatever, who is this? And
Yeah.
they're going to hang up. But from what I've heard, the opportunity really is in the message where it's
Mm.
like, hey, Will, I've just spoken to this really great, you know, creative director who's got a couple of $1 million in business. And we were talking, he's really excited about Saylor. I'm going to leave you an email to explain
Right.
more about this. So
Right.
it's like
Right.
you're using the cold call as sort of a touch point for the warm up
Mhm.
to get
Yeah.
to the pitch. So
Yeah. Yeah.
not that you guys
Interesting.
don't need to do that, but I've heard this could
Hey
be
man,
a thing. So
I'm not above it. You give me your list, man. Give me your list. I'm gonna copy paste some crazy shit and send it to
awesome, man. Well, I
everybody.
will go on Clay and
Yeah. There
I
you go.
will rip all the data I possibly can, and we'll
There you
do
go.
a cold calling session together.
Good. That'll be the follow-up episode of this. It's the most boring episode of podcast
Just watching us
possibly.
just
Yeah, just crank on cold cars.
get totally destroyed by agency owners who are like, who are you? Like, why'd you get my phone? How'd you get my phone number? But yeah, that's always interesting how people win business. And that is great that the good
Mhm.
work is kind of bringing in the business for you.
Yeah, it's crucial.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like, outside of work, which obviously we talk about life and it's all in one. What kind of things do you like to do just on a personal note?
Yeah. I have 2 daughters who one of which is very fresh, a couple months old, and they are my entire life out of work. My wife obviously, is included in that, but it's an int I don't know if you have oh, you mentioned you have
Two
kids, but,
girls, yeah.
yeah, 2 girls, amazing, look at us. Uh, it's just, it's insane. I used to have hobbies. I
I
used to do
know.
things that for myself, and now I pulled a muscle in my back sleeping the other night, I think because my body needs to go to a gym so bad that it is like it's like kind of contracting in the middle of the night. I don't have any other time to focus on anything other than raising these beautiful girls and this business, my 3 babies. And so that's where my time goes right now. I just, anecdotally, like I got really into running at the beginning of this year, ran the LA Marathon, felt like I was a forever like marathoner, and then immediately got tendonitis in my knee and have been depressed ever since. And so I need to get back on the horse. I need to go
Yeah.
figure out a hobby again and get back out there because it brings me a lot of joy. I need to diversify my life just like my business. We gotta we
I mean,
gotta we gotta
we're of
keep it
similar
going.
vintage, I imagine, and I have two little girls. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, so they're upstairs just making a ton of noise right now while my parents are watching, so we can have this conversation. Um,
I can hear them. I think I
I
can hear
probably
the
can't.
thumping.
Oh, yeah, you're hearing it.
That's the Shelburne flooring right there.
Exactly. Yes, a
That's
mid-century
you
modern
know the
house
house
is gonna
is yeah,
it's gonna
the
cave in
house
on
is
me.
at least 100 years old if you can hear that.
But I recently I got a personal trainer. I know it's hard to believe, but I just hired a personal trainer, so I've been going
Nice. Okay.
2 days a week. My wife has noticed that my face is thinning out, which is a good
Mm,
thing. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me. And for the other thing I'm planning on doing is playing in a baseball league here in next summer. So I'm trying to get in shape to play like a men's league, 40
dude,
plus men's league. So
so cool.
I'm gonna try to do that, but I'm the same
Okay.
as you. I'm very
Yeah.
invested in children and in the business. You do lose hobbies, but yeah, there's so much other joy to be had.
Yeah. I was literally thinking about the personal training thing the other day. I was like, "Oh, man, it
You should
might be
do it, man.
time just to throw money at the problem and see what happens."
It's great though because there is like an element of accountability, like because
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
paid for this 6 months and there are these
Mhm.
days I'm going to show up. And
Yeah.
the guy who's training me is like younger and he's more fit and he's like showing me how to use the
Totally. He's
machines.
aspirational.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. The other thing of being this vintage is I fear that I'm going to hurt myself.
Huh.
So having
Yeah.
this coach to sort of guide me has
Yeah.
been, there's an element of safety
I
where I like,
so right after having our first daughter, I joined a CrossFit gym because I knew I had to get, like, aggressively back into
yeah,
shape, and I
yeah,
literally, Justin, pulled my arm out of its socket and fully pulled my back in, like, the first 2 weeks. I literally was, like, I complete the pendulum swang back way too fast, and I completely destroyed myself, and then I was like, "Maybe I'm not a CrossFit guy," and then I decided to go run forever, run
yeah.
away from my feelings. But yeah, man, I mean, let
CrossFit
me
is
tell you,
intense.
it's if you get into running, you might not go back. There's something about literally just that solo. You're so alone out there
Yeah,
that is so different than having children that I think lures a lot of people.
totally. Yeah, it's been a wild ride being a parent. I guess I never realized, like, I think when I was a younger man, I thought children were more of like, not to simplify it, but more of an accessory than it was
Yeah.
like the dominating your entire being,
Mhm.
And now it's just like, wow, there's
No, it
just like,
is.
and then the days, they go by, and you're just like, wow, I'm in bed again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm waking up
Yeah.
again. I'm in bed again.
Yeah.
Waking up again. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Exactly.
You know,
Do you have friends who can't relate? I have a few friends still who
I
just
do. I
absolutely
have a,
cannot relate, and they're like, "Why is your daughter still awake?" And I'm like, "It's not time for them to go to sleep. I can't just put away my accessory.
yeah,
They have a life. There's a human
yeah,
being who's here and taking a lot of the energy out of this room, but we're here
yeah,
for it."
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I have some friends that don't have kids that are living very different lives, but I like my life. It's been pretty good, and
Oh, yeah, man.
yeah.
I bet.
Um, But cool, man. I'm really thankful that you came and spoke to us on our podcast here. I've been
Yeah.
really interested in having this conversation for a minute. So, I'd love to keep the conversation going, and maybe at some point we do a part two. We can hear how things are going in 2026. Right, that's what's coming next. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can talk
Yeah,
about it.
man. I would love that, and thanks so much for the kind words and support. I mean, it means the world. As you know, it's an interesting business, the founder business, you
It's not
know?
for everyone, and
You gotta
it's
stay close to one another,
yeah.
and you can share in the joys and the perils of it all. So kudos to you building, all you've built, and of course, this podcast. It's fun to be on here. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Well, have a good one, man. Take care.